This is our global terrorism tool. This tool allows the user to input on this dashboard his or her longitude and latitude and the max distance from his or her location which he or she would like to search for the terrorist attacks. The next input the individual would put into the system would be the start date and end date. The reason the start date and end date are in a specific format, as shown to the right of their input boxes, is because by installing a drop-down menu, the user would have to search through over 100,000 different dates to pick a start date and end date, and the drop-down menu would take far too long for the user to be most efficient in entering his or her information. Next, the user would input whether he or she would like to search by country, combatant command, or latitude and longitude. When searching by country or combatant command, the user would input the country or combatant command which he or she is trying to search. In this case, if the user were using country as his or her method, he or she would use Mexico as his or her country. Otherwise, if selecting combatant command, the individual would input the combatant command which runs the region which he or she are trying to search. After the user has inputted each of these parts of the information, he or she will then click the filter button, which would then run the system. By using country and the dates given in the time frame by the start date and end date, the user would then click the filter button and allow the system to run. The system would then kick back the information into the My Data page, allowing the individual to see the event in Mexico between the dates which he or she had inputted into the system. The user would then see the most frequent attacks and the most recent attacks given the data by the system. After placing all of this data into the My Data sheet, the system would then kick the screen back to the dashboard where the user originally put in his or her information. In order for the user to input such information such as the latitude, longitude, start date, and end date, the coding behind it has to know what information to use. For instance, if the user were to use latitude and longitude, this is the way the system would generate the information based on the distance from the soldier's location. Next, if the soldier was using the country, this would be the code used to find the data for the My Data sheet using the country as the input. And finally, using the COCOM as the input, or the combatant command, would finally use this code to figure out and input the data into the My Data sheet, ensuring that it is filtered solely by the combatant command. Instead of running each of these individually, the buttons are then set up to the function sort data. Sort data allows the user to simply click the button, and eventually the system would recognize that button as associated with one of the three commands, being copy country, copy COCOM or combatant command, and then copy my area, which would go along with the inputted information by the user.